Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by The Plain Truth, Mark and Arwin. How are you all doing?
Doing very well, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We do some housekeeping. Any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
Nope.
Area 1.
Axial rotation? Any signs of that?
Nope, not felt that either.
Self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of Earth?
Nope.
I have pictures.
Pictures? You sure they're not cartoons?
Yeah, they're artist renderings. They're not actual pictures, you know.
I knew it. Cartoons. It's about a pressurized system next to a vacuum. Any evidence of that been presented to any of you guys?
No.
Nope.
Don't want to be too hesitant. I'm sure one of you might have that. You never know.
Right. Sure.
No? What about R?
Nope. No R. No arse.
Evidence of R. Yeah, that's pretty much it then. That concludes the housekeeping.
Is this show done then? Are we done?
That's it, yeah. That's it. That's what we've got to do, really. Just point those things out and on life can go with Flat Earth. Quite
All right. Good talking to you.
What about
No,
Recruitment?
I'm really, really intrigued and interested to see what happens with this Blue Marble kid. I'd like to see him come back and have a good discussion with him.
Right.
So
He's in your neck of the woods, I imagine. So he's on your time frame.
Yeah, he's in. Where did he say he was from? He did mention Essex, I think he said.
we're talking about the Blue Marble Kid, right?
Yeah.
Well, he only seems to come in when he's joined by a handful of other Globers. So I think he's already coordinating with them.
Yeah, you know, I was watching a couple of his videos yesterday, and I couldn't help but think that he was being fed certain, information, and it just seemed a little bit too mature for a 14-year-old.
Now, the Globers are now resorting to recruiting kid soldiers.
So they give him the script, and then he sounds so cute and innocent.
Yep. For a part, at least.
Yeah,
It must all be very exciting to him, though.
sure.
Isn't it exciting for all of us? Flat Earth is ace.
Sorry, I'm still partially lunching here, so...
All good.
Oh wait, yeah, there was one thing.
What's that?
Yesterday, the Globers came in and started to say, "Oh, Slice Arcane has a new curvature calculator that has perspective in it." And yeah, and then you then you started to remind them about how they've been using the faulty one forever and have not made any retractions about that. But did anyone actually look at Slice Arcane's new calculator?
No.
No, I didn't.
Would be interesting to see what he did and how it would work out now.
Sure. I mean, I'm waiting for somebody to come along and say, let's have a look at one of these photographs. There's one on screen right now of these wind turbines going into the distance from about, 11 to 14 miles, I think it was, or 10 to 13, I forget exactly. But, you see them in side profile and they're perfectly flat, yet we have the obvious effect of perspective at play. Hi, Ranty.
Hey, Randy.
Hi, Ranty.
All right.
And I'm waiting for someone to join and say, well, look, I've got the calculation for it. Let's model out this image. This isn't down to us. We're showing how it's flat, and it's obviously flat. There's no requirement to do anything. You just have to look at it. Here we go. Here's these turbines. They're flat. And when
Yeah,
you look
no
at them in
cumulative
distance,
drop anywhere. Things do drop, but yeah, they don't drop behind a cumulatively increasing curvature. So, which they always should, in all sight.
I was
And they
listening
don't.
to Anthony and Hillel continue their discussion on Friday, I think it was Friday, and it just became apparent to me if we had a baller and a flat earther looking at the same object in the distance and they just did the straight geometry, they would see the same object, they would see the same angular reduction, they would see everything the same, and their math would come out to be the same. And then you would have to then have the Glober insert his account for the curve, but his view would still stay the same. It wouldn't change. And it was just profound to think about it that way, to show that there's actually no significance to adding R when you look at it from perspective. When you look at it on paper, the math makes it work, but that makes sense?
yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah,
What
the
you're-
maths make anything work. Any model can be explained by math. It's just another language, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's not reality, though. It's not proving reality.
Right, one of the things we're discussing at the moment is sizes of things, and when you describe it as a feet and inches number, that absolute size is meaningless. You never see anything ever in an absolute size. That's just a concept. Numbers running down a tape measure that you can quantify how big something is, but your eyes never actually see it like that. That's not how it works. You don't see in actual sizes.
So is this the first show or the second show?
It's the first show. There's only going to be one. I might do one later. I've got a Spanish class with my kid at 4, so I have to walk down to that.
Right. I'm just putting some videos and images that I took today. I don't know what I've captured. I suspect I might have seen the Isle of Man, but don't quote me on that. So, we shall see.
You can start thumbing through them while we're on air and let us know what you've got.
Well, when they've actually finished uploading off my P900, yeah.
Oh, of course, they're quite big files, aren't they?
Well, the thing is, I'm working just off the promenade, and I know where the Isle of Man is, and I can see it. And I was on my ladders, and I saw what I thought was land where the Isle of Man should be. And I thought, that can't be. Is it surely? No. Right. Anyway, so I got my P900, ran from the car down to the promenade, and started filming and taking images. And, it's up for debate, because I don't know yet. I literally don't know whether it is. But if it is, it's a hell of a lot more than I've normally seen of the Isle of Man.
Where does Sandra film the Isle of Man from?
Just
Well, she does it from Blackpool, near the Blackpool Tower, and
Yeah.
mine is from, well, today it'll be from Bisbane, which is just outside of Blackpool.
Yeah.
Anyway, something to think about. Couldn't wait to get home and put it on my PC and have a look at it.
Yeah, it's like a daily occurrence with you sometimes. Like, literally, one day you'll say, I've got this today, I've got this today, I've got nothing today, terrible day, great day. You're there all the time.
It was a great day, to be fair. This morning I went down. I was probably about 40 feet above sea level, and I zoomed right out to this boat. Now, bearing in mind that I couldn't even see Barrowing Furnace very well, and the turbines were almost invisible. But the clarity of the water and the stillness of the water was surreal. So I filmed this boat, and to me, it looked relatively close to the horizon. So it's hard to judge how far away it was from 40 feet.
Yeah.
Then I went down to 6 inches, 6 inches, and I zoomed into it, and it's exactly the same. There's not a pixel of difference between the two images of the boats. The same boat. And I did it all on one video as well. So I had the video running for about 6 or 7 minutes. Showed the tripod and everything that I was filming it on. But yeah, because the water was so still, it was like a pond. It was really weird. I've never seen it that calm.
You know what you got the other day with the small boat and then the center line going behind it?
Yes.
I thought that was fantastic. Have you done anything presenting that in video form with commentary on it?
I haven't yet. I've still not got a proper video editing software. I've got one, but it only does it in 720p, and because of filming in 1080, it seems like a waste to make a video in 720p when it's far better when it's up in 1080. If I had the software to do it, yeah, I'd jump all over it, but I've still not managed to get it on this PC yet.
Because that's got a lot to offer from our point of view.
Well, it explains a lot, doesn't it? To be honest.
It's the way the center line white letters were reflecting in front of the smaller boat. Mate, what distance was that? Well, it needs analysing, but it certainly makes it makes a mess of refraction, doesn't it? You know, where is the horizon, and what do you actually see?
Yeah.
It's incredible. I was really impressed with what you captured there.
Right. Well, I've just finished uploading the images and everything onto my PC, so you can see it as I see it. So I'll share my screen. Hide that. Let's get 25th of June up.
I guess I wonder, would there be a shipping lane that you could look up to see where? That way you would know the distance, because that's the lane they normally navigate through.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it before. I've been able to work out before where it was. I'd have to revisit the video, look at it again, and just tell you and try and do a pretty good estimate as to where it was, because they generally have a GPS on them, so you can track the boat.
Right.
So yeah, I could probably do all that. Right, what do you want to see first, Nath?
What you got? I don't know what you've got.
Nor do I.
Well, you thought you got the Isle of Man, didn't you? So where's that?
Yeah, so this is I ran up to the trams and everything kept passing in front of me, so I kept on taking some images of this. You can barely see anything on this because I'll need to open it in a let's open it in open with paint.net and just do some contrasts on it and stuff, because I could see it with my eyes, but let's I want you to do on here. What is just bring some contrast. There we go. So I don't know if you can you make that out, that land mass here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so that was I've got a whole series of these. Where am I up to? So that was this one, wasn't it? So there's the next one. Oh, you can definitely see. You can probably see it on here. I don't even need to.
Yeah, you can see that. Yeah.
I don't even need to. There's another one. Here it is again. I'm pretty sure it's the Isle of Man. Like I say, but I can't be 100%. There's the wind turbines, and that's where I've seen them before. So if I open this with the same and do the contrast as well on this, there you go. You can see the wind turbines in the foreground, and you can see what appears to be land behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I did a video of it too. Let's see. And this would be the video here. Bear with me. I didn't have my tripod or anything. I just literally grabbed my camera and ran, because I've never seen it before this clear, but I can definitely see it here. You see this?
Mm-hmm.
It is difficult to make out. I'll be honest with you, but
Whoa,
it was
there's a lot
clearer.
of wobbling going on there.
Well, I'm panning across.
It's just fascinating to see. I'm looking at the fence and it's pretty weird how that looked.
But yeah, this will definitely. I can send this video to
Wait, it's
Anthony
moving.
actually, because he can do the contrast and brightness on it as like he did with the Isle of Man stuff from 1 foot. But yeah, it's definitely. Pause it there. There's definitely land there.
Well, that's the question. Right. Well, that's the question, though. Is like, what other land would it be? I mean, why wouldn't it be the Isle of Man?
It has to be the Isle of Man because that's where I've seen it before. From
Right.
well, slightly further up, probably a mile further up, looking through these turbines. So as soon as I saw it off my ladder, I thought that's the Isle of Man. I ran down, started filming, and then I pan across and I show you where Barrow Furnace is, and you can see how misty it was today. Well, it was kind of like it was a weird setup today. This is Barrow Furnace, and you can barely make anything out. You know, you couldn't see anything. It was really hazy, even though it was really clear. Really weird. Anyway,
It's weird.
that's the Isle of Man, but this is the boat. I took 2 images of this boat. One from, is it this one? Oh no, the one before. So that's from 6 inches, right? And that one's from 40 feet.
Huh.
Right? 6 inches.
Wow, you could pretty much copy paste
Yeah, you could. There isn't.
the outline of the boat. It's
Yeah.
almost exactly the same.
Quite
Yeah,
handy
there
with
ain't
that
no
fishing line, though. See the fishing line on the end of the boat? Because if it wasn't for that, I don't think I'd be able to pick out the fold line.
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
Just there. There's the fold line. There's a very small fold line just there. But I mean, from 40 feet though, where are we? 40 feet. Here we go. And I have a video that goes along with this, which shows you me doing it. But you can see how calm it was today. But there ain't no bulge there. Where's the
Oh,
bulge?
it's still in the field of vision zone, basically. So we're still looking on
Yeah,
top
but
of it.
what's the horizon distance at 40 miles? Sorry, 40 feet. And what's the horizon distance at 8 or 6 inches? You know, because in my opinion, most of that boat should be gone from 6 inches.
Of course, you've got an increasing bulge.
Yeah.
I love these terms. They're great, aren't
On
they?
a globe, of course.
I can show you the video as well.
Yeah, let's see it.
Where are we? Was it this one or that one? Why is that one like that? Right. Let's see. Move across. It's from the high point or the low point. I can't remember which video it was because I think that's the high point. So I think that's the high point. That's me zoomed in from 40 feet.
That's some flat surface, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I run down these steps.
Live action cam.
I basically show you this is me at the steps now, the bottom of the steps, and I'm going to put my tripod in this water the way the step that it's splashing up on to the right. So right in front now. That's where I'm going to put my tripod. So I'll put the camera into it. Hang on, where are we? Keep jumping out of the waves, so just bear with me till I get it in position. Right, so here we go. Now zooming again. I'm looking for the bulge and I'm thinking, where's the bulge? Doesn't look like there's any bulge to me.
When you finish, can I show a picture as well?
Yeah, sure.
Carry on. When have you finished?
Yeah. Anyway, so I zoom back out again, and then I think I tilt the camera. There's me tilting the camera because I'm unscrewing it. I unscrew it off the tripod, and then I show you where my tripod was. So there's the tripod. That's how low down I was next to the water. So there's no, in my opinion today, there was no bulge between me and that boat.
Because there is no bulge.
Get salt water in your tripod.
Oh, I'm not bothered about that. I'd rather just get the evidence.
I am really looking forward to my holiday in California, where I grew up. I'm hoping to find a good line of sight. There's two sets of islands. There's the Anacapa Islands, and then there's the Catalina Islands. From what I looked at, it looks like the Catalina Islands are further back, but in a straight line from a certain point off the coast of California. So I'm hoping that I can maybe try to get those in contrast.
What type of camera or glass have you got for your camera?
I've got a P900.
All right.
Are you breaking up?
I think he said P900, didn't he?
I'm sure he said P900.
Oh, you didn't hear me? Yeah, I said P900. I'm going through some pockets right now.
Yeah.
No worries.
Jolly good.
Thanks for that, Ranty. Did you want to pop your stuff up,
No
Mark?
worries. Sorry?
I said thank you for that, Ranty. That was ace.
No worries. I need to analyse the Isle of Man stuff if it's the Isle of Man. But there was something there. There was some landmass that appeared, and then, funnily enough, about 3 or 4 minutes after I took the images, they were gone. You couldn't see it again. So I don't know whether it was just like, because I've how many times I've been there, I've never really seen the Isle of Man apart from at sunset. But to see it in the middle of the day like that.
Looks like a pinhole camera image. Is that right?
I have no idea what that is.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
No, are you looking at my image now?
Yeah.
No, that was in the Canon. It just what impressed me on that particular day was the just the reflection of the sun on the water. It's totally flat. There's no peaks in that reflection of the water. But if we zoom in now, that's a stitch. That is. So, hang on a minute. Let me get rid of the levels. Okay. And there we've got our Isle of Man again. And again, we'll just do the levels.
When did
Oh, there
you
we
take
go.
this?
There we go. That's cool.
Can you see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
All the way across. Now, I asked one of the locals, what do they see regularly, and she was saying that she believes that this bit here is Peel, but I still haven't quite worked it out yet. But anyway, we've heard of the Spanish Head, haven't we? You've identified that before, Anthony.
Hello, Jay, speak up.
Hey, Jay.
Yo, hey, what's going on?
Ranty has. So that's the Spanish Head, and then just a bit further over, this is the elusive Calf of Man. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, well, I need to go further in there, don't I? Okay. See that now?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, so that's it, and then this is the Spanish Head that's coming up, but still haven't really got right down to what's what yet. But that's the whole length of the island, and that's where my lens sort of breaks down.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about the distances then, where you've taken it from, all that sort of stuff.
I would have been about 30 foot high, where the car park is before you go down to the beach, and the Isle of Man is 35 miles away.
Cool.
I think we're going to get better images though in September, when you get those crisp mornings. But one day we'll get the perfect storm and everything will be there.
You know, it was today briefly. Honestly, I'm pretty sure that this is the Isle of Man. I'm looking through the images now, and it's quite convincing to me. But it's like, you know, the story Brigadoon, that you only ever see it every 100 years or so. Well, that's how difficult it is to see the Isle. For whatever reason, I think it's maybe something to do with the direction that the sun travels or whatever. There has to be some reason why it's not really visible all the time from where I am. Because even though I'm at elevations that you should be able to see it, you can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Anthony.
Hola.
Hey,
What have I missed?
Not a lot.
The Isle of Man. The Isle of
ranty
Man.
footage was amazing.
Ranty's done what?
He's done a live transition shot from one elevation point to another while the camera was running. It was an action cam, and he showed the same boat from different heights, and it was really good. Well done.
I've said that observer height doesn't make much difference at all. On the ball, it makes a massive difference.
Yep.
But in real world, when you go out and do stuff, it doesn't seem to make any difference. The only thing that really matters.
In this case, it did, because it showed a whole different picture.
Well, I mean, it
At
depends
the
on the
very
set.
low altitude, the boat was practically like in the vanishing zone, at the slant, resting on top of it, and at the higher altitude, it was relatively more closer by, so it was still in the field of view, and you could clearly see that it was before the slanting point, and it was really good.
Is it worth just re-showing it?
I can reshow it if you want.
Please, it would be better. But in my experience, when I've done observations at different heights, it makes little or no difference unless you get right in front of the waves. Then it makes a difference. But from being down there to up there doesn't make that much difference in my experience. Maybe.
Right, you seeing this?
Yeah.
So that's from 40 feet. Zoomed in.
Looks a bit heavy, that boat, doesn't it?
It does look like it's going this way. I thought that when I was looking at it.
Yeah.
Where are we? So so that's from that, and that's from probably around about 6 inches.
It's unbelievable how flat that water is.
Today, it was stunning.
So flick between the two. Oh yeah, the relative horizon is different, isn't it? But we're not seeing no hump in between us. How far away is this?
The boat, I have no idea.
Is it on full zoom or is it close?
If I was guessing, I would say, how far was it? Maybe 4.5, 5 miles away, perhaps. I don't know. That's just a pure guess.
Well, to be honest, there shouldn't be like a risen horizon in front of it between us and it, causing like the obstruction called curvature.
Well, there should be at the elevations that I was doing it at, yeah. 6 or 7 inches, definitely. What's the horizon distance at 6 inch?
Less than a mile.
Yeah.
Let me just do some maths. Some of that stuff that I get criticised for.
But do you know what's missing here in the image?
Curvature, bulge.
No, a defined horizon.
Yeah. So the horizon at like, did you say like half a foot, a few inches?
Yeah. I was.
The horizon is
in
meant. The horizon is meant to be less than a mile away. It's supposed to be. It says 4,500 feet, so it's less than a mile away. So that boat must be less than 1 mile away. If we live on a sphere.
See if I can bring up the 25th of June. So I'll bring you the video up that I did. So this is from the high elevation, 40 feet.
High elevation of what? Where are you?
Anchor Zone.
All right, okay. It's glorious weather again today, isn't it?
It's fantastic. Anyway, I zoom in and then I go down the steps and I put my just see where the water is on this little step. It's only about 4.5, 5 inches. These steps, they're only tiny. And I stick my tripod in there. I've got a tiny little tripod and I zoom in.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll show you that zoom when it's full zoomed in because it's pretty neat actually.
See, it makes me think the horizon is one of those infinity horizons because you're that low to the water that you're seeing a few inches on your lens is miles in real world.
Can you see the refraction layer though?
Yeah.
Here. And we know that this actually goes into the water because we can see it from the higher elevation. It's like
So we're getting one of those
or something.
We're getting one of those artificial horizons that Rumpus says, "Oh, it'll be okay. We can just guess."
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can measure to that because it's lower, giving you the R value, which is retarded.
Yeah, the man that wants precision and he wants to measure stuff accurately, and then he says, "Oh, it's okay. You're close enough."
So that's my tripod there in the water. That was filming from. See me pick it up now.
Yeah, in golf, those are called gimmies, right?
Oh,
In Nathan's chat, they're called Ball Earth Debunkers.
what I'll do now is I turn around and I show you the top of the steps. So all the top of those steps, and on that rail that's up there, that's where I did the filming from the 40 feet elevation.
That's 40 foot.
Yeah. You know how many steps there is?
22.
There's probably more than that. There's probably about 30 odd. And then there's the railings to put it onto. There we go. Way down there. There we go.
Yeah, it's quite a trek away, isn't it?
And I might have caught the Isle of Man as well.
Well, I went to the beach yesterday with the dogs, and we were at Southport Beach. Well, Crosby Beach, where the where the Crosby men, the Anthony Gormley statues are implanted into the sand.
Yeah.
And I got the P900, flopped it out in front of everyone, extended my range, and I had my massive 2200mm lens all on protrusion for everyone to see. And I'm looking along the horizon, and I can see what appears to be land as well in the distant background, but I haven't worked out what it is yet.
If I upload a video to YouTube and you can download it in the full format 1080, can you run the editing software on it and change the contrast on it?
Yeah, but don't change it beforehand. Leave it unedited.
Yeah, and no. If I upload it now to my YouTube, put it on
highest quality that you can.
Yeah, 1080. I'll send you the link, and then probably in about half an hour or so, you should be able to have downloaded it and put it on your PC, and you can run it through live and show everybody.
Yeah, do it now then.
I'll do it now. I'll get it uploaded onto my YouTube. I'll put it on, unlisted, so that you can download it.
Sure.
Yeah. All right.
And just by way of by way of a tangent, I did that history paper, the physics paper, the higher paper yesterday or the day before. It was when England, I think it was when England were playing. That was yesterday, wasn't it? Obviously, England won 6-1 on highest recorded World Cup match result for an England professional football match in the World Cups. It's our highest scoring game, which is cool. But I took him past that physics higher paper. We went through it verbally. He only had so much time, and he said, "I've not got time to do it properly." He said, "Just give me the answers verbally." And I said, "That's fine. We'll just talk through it and see how many marks you give me for it and stuff." And to be honest, he gave me 2 previous papers that were like previous past papers, previous exam papers, and they were so much easier. And I said, "Why was that one so much more difficult?" He said, "It's a different examining board." And he said, "And they focus more on the application of the formulas than they do the physics." He said, "A lot of people see physics as maths, and a lot of other people see physics as practical." And he said, "And it just depends on the exam board at the time." But the paper that I did had like so much maths in it and stuff that I had no idea of. We've all heard of neutrons, electrons, but what's a positron? I don't know if anybody's ever heard of a positron, but I've never heard of a positron. And it's asking me to calculate the weight, the mass of the acceleration of a positron if you're given the density and the weight and stuff like that. And I was like, what the hell is a positron? I've never even heard of it, but I passed it anyway. So, to be honest, it was a really bad paper because all the 2 previous papers that I had passed with a decent mark. I did only just pass it, literally by 2 marks, but nonetheless, I still passed it. And I was like, considering that I haven't done physics since I was in high school, which is like 15 years ago, 18 years ago, and the last time I seen a paper like this was then, I passed it, and I was like, oh well, that'll shut a certain bunch of people up. But that'll do for me, as long as I passed it. And I didn't. I'd never seen this paper before either. But it was hard work to do it, to be honest. And we kept getting disconnected with the internet on Skype. Is anybody else having problems with Skype at the moment, or is it just me?
No, I've had loads of problems with Skype recently.
I haven't got any problems with it so far.
Being really buggy. It's like it'll just stall and it'll stop updating itself with stuff. So you have to shut it down and then restart it. And then when you do restart it, it doesn't want to make connections. It's just stupid. I hope they hurry up and sort it out.
Right, well, this video's 45% uploaded, so I'll make sure that it's displaying in 1080 before I send you the link, and then you can download it.
Sure.
And do a live sort of like edit of it, so it shows the contrasts. But
Nate, can we go through Slice Arcane's nonsense, or have you already done it?
No, we haven't even touched on it.
Oh, come on, let's do it.
Did you check out his new improved curve calculator?
Slice?
Yeah,
No.
it was mentioned yesterday.
I saw the crayons. I saw the crayons video, and I saw Nathan's 2 rebuttals. Do you know what? Isn't it funny, right? Sly won't accept me citing Nathan's video, or indeed Red Pill Philosophy's video, because I haven't done it myself. Yet when he asks me to go to the beach and capture the same footage from the Isle of Man, and I do it, he doesn't even acknowledge that I've done it. So on the one hand, he's asking me to go and do the rebuttal myself, but on the other hand, when I go and do the thing that he asks me to do, he's not man enough to accept that even if he disagrees with the interpretation, he's not man enough to accept that I went back and did what he asked me to do successfully. He won't acknowledge that I've done it.
Nah, he just sent you hunting for sand fleas.
He's an idiot. So I'm looking forward to addressing Sly, but I don't know when's best, Nathan. We better doing it at the beginning of the next show or doing it now?
Well, do you know what would be funnier if you sort of like went after the guy that did the same thing that Nathan did, and basically showed the bottle covering the bin behind it.
Which do you mean? Which guy?
Oh, the
Some
boss.
guy did. Oh, you
It
know,
was
Nathan,
Milo,
though.
right? Oh, here come the trolls.
Oh,
But that was Milo, if I'm not
Was
mistaken.
it Milo that tried to do that? Right, because he basically was doing the same as Nathan, and he actually shows the water bottle obscuring the bin behind it, even though it's like 2/3 of the size of it. So that'd be an easy debunk.
You can't get away from perspective. So when these guys do real world observations and say, you know, in comparison to Sly, who's saying that you don't need to account for this stuff, then they show it actually happening and go, there you go, Sly confirmed. And you're like, really, guys? Have you actually looked at your own footage? Seriously? Come on.
well, what time did we start? Did we start this at 2?
Yeah, about that.
So this will be finishing at 3. Should we do it now, or should we do it at the beginning of the next one?
Well,
Well,
there's
hang
not
on,
going to be a
wait,
next
wait,
one.
wait.
I'm going to do one later on this evening because I've got a Spanish class later, so 3 o'clock. Well, I might leave this one to run a little bit longer though. So, like I say, I'll just do it now.
I'll do the Isle
Hello,
of
who's
we'll do
that?
the Isle of Man first, I think, and save Sly till later.
Hold on.
Because this is like, you know, for people that are saying that this is all CGI and fake stuff, you know, to actually do it right now live, probably an hour and a half after I filmed it, you know. Click done to confirm. Well, it's up to you guys. I mean, you can do what you want, but
We're just not quite prepared to do your live edit. I think that's probably why Anthony's gone silent.
well, it's processing now.
I'm not
so-
bothered. I'm just thinking while we're waiting for it, we might as well rip Sly a new arsehole because the
Exactly.
guy's a moron.
Let's
The
just
guy
get
does
on with it.
exactly what I... My assertion is that these guys are not taking into account perspective. And I think it's worth reminding people that there is a disclaimer in place, an active disclaimer, because not everybody's going to get it. And I'm not actually sure whether Sly's being dishonest or whether he's just stupid. I did think he was one of these people that just got it and he was being dishonest. But based on the video with the crayons that he did last night, I'm just wondering, is he actually with it? And maybe he's not actually with it and I'm being harsh on him and he's not actually being dishonest. He's just thick. So I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll have to ask the people that are watching to make their own minds up. But I'm going to present the idea that he's actually thick. He's not actually dishonest. He's just dumb. We're at a junction, Ranty. Are we ready to do yours or are we ready not?
Well, I've uploaded it. The quality right now it's displaying is only 360. So, you know, you've got to leave it a couple of minutes for it to go through the
render.
you know, it renders it and then do it in 720. And let's get it in the 1080. So maybe another 5 minutes, it should be ready.
Right, well, let's deal with Sly. Because we need the sound on it, Nathan. Can I drop off and come onto Skype?
Yeah, if you want.
Right. 2
Shout out
sets.
to John for the super chat. Thank you very much.
Nice. Hey, by the way, I haven't seen Alan for a while.
Well, he sniped, didn't he? I believe it was him. But again, it was somebody with the LMB.
I don't know.
The
Don't
only
remember
thing-
having seen him for a while. Maybe he passed away of old age or something.
Oh, that's messed up, man.
When you're going to be off the scene for 5 minutes and people think you're dead.
Unless of course you're Miles the Liar Davis, who is off the scene for what, 3 months or so. So he has died, as far as we're concerned.
Nah, he's been leaving comments yesterday.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, he
didn't
must
mind
be
if
on
I asked
intensive
about-
care.
Sorry.
Well, they need
Yeah.
time off. They need time off for good behaviour.
Right, you're
This is
presenting,
the Isle of Man. I'm
Anthony.
sure of it. I'm sure of it.
You're on.
Right, so this is
Yeah, so-
Sly's Crayons video from yesterday, which, to be honest, I have to give him credit because he's really good at doing videos, and I hate that he's better than me at doing videos. I don't know how he does this. I wish I could do it. But he's talking about the line of sight from A to B, and he talks about this house. And basically, I'll pause it here. The claim is that these morons are keeping the sizes the same when they go further away. And they need to be reducing because we see things from the eye, things get smaller as they go into the distance. So the first thing that I noticed on this video is what he's just done there. When he moves this house back relative to the... See how he doesn't reduce the height of it? That's part of the problem, right? He's doing the exact offence that I'm pointing my finger at, not reducing the height relative to the observer. Now, his argument is that
Can you just
because the
mute him
house
while you're
goes...
talking?
Pardon?
You've got his audio
Yeah.
running as well, and it's just you can hear it. So just unless you actually want to hear him talking, can you just mute it?
Sure. So basically, as he moves his house forward and backwards, there's no size reduction because of perspective, which is the crime that he's committing, right? That is the mistake he's making. Not just him, every one of them. So as this building goes further away, see how it maintains its aspect ratio relative to the observer. Now, orthographically speaking, and side on, of course, you wouldn't do. You'd keep it that way. But obviously, we have the optical slant that Arwin talks about, which is one thing, which basically everything rises to the horizon and it converges at the convergence point. This is an orthographic representation, and he's basically ridiculing us on that basis. And it is ridiculous. Now, watch what he does here. He measures the angular size at 44 degrees from where it is here. And then look at how the house, although the angle's getting smaller, the house itself, relative to the observer, is still staying the same orthographic size, even though it's going further. So the angular size is reducing, but he's not reducing the size of the house relative to the distance it's moving away. He's keeping that size. That's exactly the point. The point that we're saying, and the point I've been saying, is these things get smaller to the observer, and you have to account for it. And when I put it into this context, let's get this. Oh no, I don't think. Oh yeah, there we go. So basically, there's the observer, there's the eyeball that he's talking about, and notice as the mountain moves further away from the observer, it gets smaller. So Sly's doing the exact crime that we're pointing the finger at, and deserves to be ridiculed vastly for it because the guy is a moron. Anyway, so back to his video. Watch what he does.
Anthony, real quick.
Yeah.
Do you remember your conversation with Hillel when he saw the image you just put up of the mountain? He said, "Why is your mountain smaller as it goes away from you?"
No, I didn't hear him say that. I'd have jumped all over that if.
Yeah. When you pulled it up, he jumped on you right away, and he's like, "Anthony, why did you make the mountain smaller as it goes away?" That's it. The first thing he said.
Really, I didn't even hear that. If I'd have heard that, I'd have jumped all over it.
Yeah.
Well, that's basically the problem. So Hillel and Sly Sparkane are guys that are both guilty of the same thing. But now look what he does. So he's got the new measured angle at 9 degrees for the distance away. Now I need to listen to what he says. And hopefully. So look what he's doing there. He's bringing it closer and he's opening up the angle, which is true. But he's not shrinking the house because that house there should be down here. Because that's what happens with perspective. It gets smaller as it gets further away. But he's saying that it happens to get smaller here, which has got no relevance to our vision whatsoever. It's smaller down here, and then obviously it drops behind a curve, and it just gets really bad for them at that point. So he's showing exactly what our point is, but it's the antithesis of our point, and he's committing the exact crime that we're saying that he's doing.
Sleight of hand. So what he's doing is he's showing how you can measure the angular size, but he's saying we take a line of sight. In other words, he's not taking any angular measurement whatsoever. He's just telling you about it and then saying we use this arbitrary line. The line in the middle is what he's going to use. So this height, in terms of what the measurements they'd put in for it, would always be the same. It would be the number of feet and inches off the ground. It's never going to be the angular size. They don't deal in angular size. So him showing it you is totally erroneous. Wowee, so you can show us that you can work out the angular size. We want to see the angular size reduction at distance applied.
Yeah.
None of these people are actually applying it. We're still in orthographic view for a start. We still see the side of the head of the observer. You know, this is how you catch that they're doing this absolute size calculation. So it doesn't matter that he can draw a few angles in it. It's meaningless. It doesn't actually relate to the calculation he's going to do for globe Earth at all.
Now, this is another one I've got an issue with.
Let me say something real quick.
Yeah.
Go back and show the house when it's close to the observer. All right, so you've got a wide angle, right?
Yeah.
And then you move the same sized house away and the angle diminishes, but you don't diminish the size of the house.
That's because he's applying orthography and he's not applying perspective.
Right. It was just interesting to see it visually this way. Yeah.
Yeah. So what he's doing is he's claiming that the house is actually here, and that's where the size is counted for. But of course, the house is over here. We don't see the house here. We see the house over here, and it's this size when it's over in this right-hand side. And he hasn't reduced the size. Perspective does matter, and it's compounded by the fact that Red Pill Philosophy did the same video, side on, and showed this exact thing. Basically, there is a discrepancy between the line of sight and the perception that it should be the same, which is the baller's position, and my position that they're different. And Red Pill's done it in a way that I was going to do anyway, but because my back garden's like full of bushes and stuff at the minute, we've had to do numerous tip runs, so I'm cut to ribbons at the minute. I've just not had time to do it, but he's gone and done it for me anyway. So Red Pill's done it and basically proved that there is a discrepancy between what you think it should look like based on orthography, but what it actually looks like perspective-wise is different. There is a discrepancy. He supports the position. The question then becomes, how much of a problem is it? So we're kind of at the point now where there is a problem, but they've got to work out how to get around it, and they have to keep this orthographic size no matter what. Otherwise, the Metabunk curve calculator is never going to match any observation again, ever. And you know why? Because that's the curve that's missing. This is where they're sneaking the curve. He's trying to present this is what we're seeing, but it's actually that little build that house is over here somewhere, and that angle drops down because of the house, as well as reducing the angle because of the distance. So it reduces the angle and gets smaller over distance.
And it remains and it remains on the ground. So, you know, him showing you that it's lifted up in his position from that position is totally erroneous, because things shrink towards the horizon, which is why they can become obscured by things in the background. So his claim that this keyhole on the right, or not keyhole, peephole, the line he's drawn through on the house, 2/3 of the way up the door, or 3/4 of the way up the door, you can see there's a peephole, little dot. Well, he's saying no matter how far that house gets away, you'll still have a line of sight to the peephole. And in reality, things drop towards the horizon as they reduce in angular size. So absolutely not. It won't stay on the same line of sight. That's utter horseshit. As it reduces in angular size, it doesn't lift up from the ground, even though these guys want it to be hologram looming. You know, they need all this crap to be happening. It doesn't. You know, things stay fixed in their position.
Intersect for 1 sec. Nathan, Anthony, can you download that video from the link I sent you in Skype?
I can. That'll take seconds.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, okay, that's it. Carry on.
Can I ask a question about this one? Because before you guys explained it, I never seen this before, but it seemed to make a lot of sense to me. Like I understand that you saying that the house is supposed to get smaller, but of course in reality it doesn't get smaller. He's moving it away and the angle changes, which demonstrates the angular size. And then for some reason he brings it back and makes it smaller with that same angle. And I guess he's claiming that you still see it at that same eye line, but doesn't the horizon appear to rise up to that line? So even though it appears like that, wouldn't the horizon come up in his if he was to also visualize the horizon, wouldn't that also be appearing to have rise up to where that house appears to be?
Not in this view, no, because in this view, he's just got a straight line. That's the whole point. The horizon rising is an effect of perspective, totally ignored in these views. So I keep saying, if you can show me how this guy with angular size written underneath him, how I can get this view, how do I hold my camera and take a picture of the object and the side of my own head and the camera? How do I do that? And the answer is, it's impossible, because it's not comparable. This is not comparable to photography at all. It excludes perspective. Simple. So you describing an effect of perspective, lifting that bottom line. Anthony, can you pop it back on?
Yeah. Oh.
That line, well, that bottom line he's standing on ain't going anywhere in this view, is it? So you're very right in pointing out that that line should be raising up towards the midpoint that he's drawn, but it doesn't, because of the view he's picked.
Yeah, which is the optical slant that Arwin talks about. There is an optical slant that goes up to the horizon.
So we'll ask you, why doesn't this view account for the slant going up towards the horizon, Jay?
Yeah, well, like the house is kind of like off-colored or whatever, the small one. So it's supposed to be like it's a fake house or something. But if he went ahead and did the same thing with the horizon and showed like the horizon doing a slant and made it kind of like faded.
What, like a kind of perspective view kind of view deal, that kind of thing. Is that what you're talking about? Maybe looking at it in perspective view. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like that's what he.
Right, well, he's not, is he? That's the point, you stupid dumbass. He's not using the perspective view, he's using an orthographic view. Do you get it, you dumbass?
No, I do. That's what I'm saying. If he had done this...
Right, well, that's what we're saying too. So thank you for agreeing with this, Johnny Globehead on the panel.
Well, I'm just curious if he had done that.
Moving on for a minute, it'll all become clear in a sec. So let me just proceed. So basically, it's not just the fact that he's reducing the angle; it's the fact that he's not reducing the apparent height, because that's what does happen to the eye. So, and also the land goes up towards the horizon. It's not parallel to it's not flat to the ground the way that he's drawing it. These are all. This is the sleight of hand. This is where they're literally cheating us. But my next problem with this video is this clip. I'm going to come to. There are other things that I'm going to address in this. There's numerous clips, but that I've got issue with. But look at this. Now he's using like names here. So he's got Natty, which I'm expecting is Nathan. He's got Tony, and he's got Jerry. So presumably that's Jeranism. But look at how he's presented me. I've got this big belly, and these two are both anorexic, and I'm thinking this is disproportionate. So I'm wondering, is it me that's fat, or is it these two that are anorexic? And I'm sure he's deliberately done that, little worm. But anyway, a little bit of light-hearted humour. But watch what he does here now. What he's showing here is that...
Pretty accurate, that.
I find that really offensive. It's ridiculous. He's saying that my belly is obstructing... well, it's Nathan in this case. So basically what he's saying here is that I'm a bit smaller.
Your belly could obstruct the Isle of Man, mate.
Huh?
When Anthony goes on the beach, he has to get off to let the tide come in.
Yeah. So anyway, watch what he does here now. He brings this house back in, right? And this is glorious because this basically shows that he's lying. Now, is he doing this honestly? Now, you need to listen to what he says here. So listen to what he says. It's the bit about, he says, notice how it'll never get smaller than the guy's head. Well, watch what he says.
The bottom of the house is obstructed because of Natty's head. It is at Jerry's eye level. But no matter how far you move away Jerry's house, the top portion will always be visible because it is higher than Natty's head.
Let's see that again.
But no matter how far you move away of Natty's head, it is at Jerry's eye level. But no matter how far you move away Jerry's house, the top portion will always be visible because it is higher than Natty's head.
Right, so no matter how far away you move the house, the top portion will always be visible because of Jerry's head. Well, this is where Nathan's toy car thing came in. Like, he did 2 videos last night. But did you notice where he stopped the line? Look where he starts the line, where the house is in the picture. Look where he stops the line, and obviously that denotes a position off screen to the right somewhere. But if he was to carry on drawing that picture and push it further out, what do you think is going to happen to that line? And listen to his words. Carry on the line. So listen to what it listens. So you got to imagine carrying on the line, but listen to how it conflicts with what he says.
Jerry's eye level. But no matter how far you move away Jerry's house, the top portion will always be visible because it is
Carry on going. that line.
Now let's take Jerry, Natty, and Tony off the further than Natty's head.
What will happen is if he carries on pushing the house further and further away, the angular size will get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then Jerry's head will then stop you from seeing it the way he claims it won't, because he claims that we live in an orthographic world, and he denies perspective. But the question
I think you may be slightly wrong here, but just slightly.
No, not at all, Owen. Because of your slant. The slant, if you draw this in a perspective view, forces the house to rise up to the midpoint and the top to rise down or lower down towards the midpoint. And as the house shrinks in size, the object in the foreground will be above the midpoint.
Hello, boys.
Hello, Alan.
What we also don't see in this.
Hello, Elms.
If
Hold
the
on.
relative
Hold on,
height
hold on,
of the
hold on.
object in
Hold
front
on.
of you is
Hold
lower
on.
than
Jeez,
you.
Owen! Hello, Elms. Hello, can you hear us?
Hello.
Not you. Hello, Elms.
Hello. Hey, my death's been exaggerated.
Elms, not you, Elms.
Can't listen, deaf.
What?
Elms,
Not
I said
you.
about 4
Shut up.
times, not you, so I've had to kick him because you kept talking. Don't worry about it, Alan.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Right, but what these ballers do, they always do drawings. They never do it on a real world image because do you know why? Because drawings exclude atmosphere.
Right.
Well, no, it's not just that. It's the orthographic over
Yeah,
perspective
well, they
argument.
exclude atmosphere. That's
It
it.
may be true, but in this specific case, I think that his point that he tried to make is correct, and that is, if your eye level or the camera's eye level is higher than an object in front of you relative to the horizon, then that object will never obscure anything that is physically bigger and higher and
Orthographically,
reaches
yeah.
up to eye level in the distance. And this is what you observe with photographs as well.
I agree.
Right,
It
orthographically,
doesn't
Arwin.
disprove
Arwin.
the flat Earth at all. It's just
Arwin, orthographically, what you've just said is correct. But from perspective,
no, but in
it isn't.
perspective as well.
Well, okay. Well, let's look at Nathan's video. We've got a little car, a medium truck, and then a big house. Nathan clearly demonstrates that as you change the relative positions of the 3 targets, what do you know? Little things in the foreground, the car, can make big things in the background, the house, become obscured. And this is the point that Sly's trying to make.
That is because the camera is at the exact same height. The center point of the camera is at the same height or even slightly lower than the car. And the
No, it's
point
not.
that another video was made is that the observer's position is higher. And then an object that is closer by, that is below the observer point, can never obscure anything that is physically higher in the background. But
Well, what's on
this
screen-
just demonstrates
what's on screen
that
right now
something
contradicts what you
even
just said.
relatively small to another object can obscure something in the back if it exceeds the level point of the observer. If it is positioned higher with
Yeah, but-
some part of
Arwin.
it, then
And
The rest.
you're quite right, but they're still not being honest with us because all those arguing that we had about
No,
images.
hang on.
far away
He isn't
and
quite right.
points
He's
in
quite
What
wrong.
this- no. It's just this one specific instance. I agree with pretty much the rest. It's like constant. This orthographic view it doesn't
But what are
really
you
help.
talking
But
about?
in this specific example, he was correct.
He's talking
No,
about a
he
very
isn't
minute
correct, Alvin. That's the
measurements,
point.
though, eye level, isn't he? If it's not above his eye level, he'll be able to see through. We were looking at images where the hump was either 6 foot high or hundreds of feet high. None of those were images that we argued over this time 6 months ago was at eye level.
Of course, they are desperately trying to catch up.
They are. It just does not apply in so many ways that this
Mhm.
image is put.
No, but in this specific instance, if the observer's eye level, if the height of the observer is higher than an object in front of them, then that object can never obscure anything.
Oh, I see
that
what
is
you're saying,
bigger,
Owen. That's
that is-
not what I'm trying to demonstrate. So I grant you your point now that I've listened carefully. However, and it is one of the criticisms of the ballers in this video, but the point we're making isn't that. The point we're making is you are looking at an obstruction. The only reason we have an obstruction at all is because something's obstructing us. So to say, well, we want to look over the top of it to make our point. No, You've got a bulge in the way. That's what the car in the foreground represents, something higher than your position that obscures your view. So while they're trying to make a different point, which, yeah, you could argue that if it's below the midpoint, you couldn't obscure it, unless something actually intersects that midpoint like a wave, then no, you're right, it won't obscure it. Like when you get flat water, you don't get the obstruction because it's not dissecting the midpoint. So you're right, Arwin. And that point that they're making, that straw man red herring point they're making, you could argue is correct. But that's not our point. Our point is what we're trying to replicate is an obstruction, something in the near foreground, i.e. the bulge, which would be considerably larger and cause considerably more obstruction based on the fact that it's in the near foreground by virtue of perspective. So that's what I want to demonstrate to my audience, because they're saying perspective doesn't apply, and then showing you an orthographic viewing to show you how he can maintain the size of the house, tell you how they calculate the angle, but ultimately he's still going to go to Wikipedia to get the value, the absolute height of the car, the house, the island. They're always going to go to the feet and inches. So while he's showing you the angular size, it means nothing in his presentation, literally nothing, because he's still drawing a single line between target and observer to maintain the actual sizes. The apparent height is ignored, and the apparent height, when you have an obstruction, which is what this is all about, how much obstruction, that's where this all began. Anthony's point has remained consistent, and that's what we're talking about. The bulge is what we're on about. How much does it obscure based on perspective rules? And it is higher. So if anyone wants to argue, well, you're a bit lower than the car, oh right, well, I'm 6'2", and according to the bullshit ball maths, sometimes we have a 170-foot wall of water between us and the target as we lean back and point our camera down because of the bullshit bulge that we don't see. So all of this double-speak nonsense, we've got our heads round now. And if they want to argue that you can't obscure something if you're at the midpoint, yeah, I'll agree. I'll concede that in a heartbeat. That's why we get the views we do on a calm, clear day. However, we're not talking about that in their world. We're talking about a world of bulges and obstructions. And the main obstruction, which is what we're now going to start beating our drum about, now we've actually got the angular size reduction omission point really drummed home, we're going to move on to the bulge, the target in the near foreground. And that's what these demonstrations are for me and my point. While I want to debunk Sly, ultimately speaking, the point is clear. We are talking about an obstruction, a target in the near foreground, in their world, that doesn't exist. The bulge. So when I demonstrate that in their mathematics, which is how they express this, not visually, the mathematics break apart when they exclude perspective, which they absolutely do, because of exactly that, you can see it demonstrated. Hey, the boss.
Hello.
You all right
I would
to
just like
play
to
my
tell you
video
that
now?
your video is wrong.
Who's
Just hang on a sec, Ranty, nearly.
Yeah,
Nathan, it gets
I'll be
worse
really
though,
pissed
because
off if I've gone to this effort to do this and you guys are just going to talk about perspective and then end the stream and not show it till later.
no, there's another stream on.
It's not. I keep saying I've got a Spanish class, so once the stream ends, we've probably got about 15 minutes left.
Right, 15 minutes.
Well,
right, okay, but
Hey, Nathan.
right, I'm
So you
not
got
prepared to
15
lose the
minutes to
perspective.
play my video
So
with the
we either
effects,
wait
yeah?
or I'll drop and you can continue. What do you want to do?
What? I've sent you the link for the video. If you could play
Right, and as you
that
can see, I'm in the middle of doing
with the
something, and I've
effects
said
on.
I'll do it, but you can I'll drop and you can do it now, or you can wait patiently. Which do you want?
What do you mean? You're actually editing it now?
No,
You
I'm
didn't tell me
doing
to do
something
that.
with perspective right now, and you can either wait for it, or I'll drop and you can present it on
So
the thing.
I'll drop and you can sod off. How's that?
No,
Whatever.
it's not being like that,
Fuck off.
Ranty. Oh, I don't think he was actually establishing that. I think he was just trying to establish timings with Ranty, but he's disappeared anyway.
I don't know what's wrong with him.
Okay.
He's
yes,
pissed off
Nathan.
because his hard drive's acting daft. But right, anyway, but right, the point is, this is all done on a flat plane table, right? So it's not just the bulge that we've got to bring into it. It's also that element called curvature, that the drop value that is supposed to be the hidden affects, because this is all done on a flat plane. But the problem is, when you bring into account the bulge, which the car might be, the wall of water, there's also got to be that negative element, which is the drop, the hidden value, that which they claim is the ball that we live on. It works as a double-edged sword. So Nathan's right to point out the bulge, but I'm also right to point out that drop. And we're obviously not seeing it because the bulge is bigger than the things in the background, but the drop, the hidden value behind, the curve that we're supposed to live on, isn't there. And if you add the curve into it, these things become minute and drop into that hidden value, and it becomes ridiculous.
Yep.
That's why we're labouring the point, and we haven't pushed this point for a while. Because I said to Nathan, wait, let's not push the bulge just yet. Let's get them to understand that things in the background do get smaller. Once they understand that, then we can apply the hidden.
Well, it's a four-stage process. The first stage is to get them to actually acknowledge that the calculator omits perspective. So we dealt with that. That's been done. We've got a concession. Great. Then you move on to the actual application of an angular size reduction at distance. Now, we've gone past that. We've got lots of obstructions and brick walls from the people we're arguing with, but we knew that because when we discussed it a couple of weeks back, we were like, they can't concede that point. So at some point, we have to have a game plan to move on when they absolutely cannot concede it. They're not going to suddenly stop drawing things in orthographic view, maintaining actual sizes. They can't. They've got no choice. So our game plan was always to, at this stage, move on to the most important part, which is the obstruction itself, in relevance to this calculation at least. So when you get to that stage and you start actually identifying the bulge, we'll get people to recognise that there is an obstruction, regardless of what people want us to look at when they come along to debunk us. Let's make no bones about what's going on here. So when that happens, we're going to point out there is an obstruction. There's something in the near foreground, the bulge. The next step, which we'll maybe bring into the conversation, we haven't ignored the bulge up until now, but the next step is the drop, which is by far the most devastating at the moment. We're showing that you can actually obscure things with an angular size reduction at distance, something they ignore currently. We've demonstrated that admirably, so has Red Pill, so has Phuket Word, so has a dozen other people. This is easy to demonstrate without engineering in the curve at this stage. When the curve comes in, that's when the hammer comes down. That's when the maths really, really falls apart. But at the moment, it's step 3, bulge. That's what we're talking about. The obstruction in the foreground you claim is there, but is not.
The worst thing is, though, they'll never, ever admit it. So this may go on for a few weeks because they can't admit it. If they admit it, their metabunk curve calculator will never match any observation again, ever. So it's a question of how long do we push this and ultimately make this an issue that is, well, basically they're going to destroy their ball. And the more we labour the point, yeah, it might be a little bit frustrating if you get the point, but for those that don't get the point, things in the foreground that are small do block out things in the background that are big. And that's without even considering the curve, the drop, that thing that we're supposed to live on. When you come to add them things, It really, really does change.
Right. But that's only if, because what Arvin said, I think, or maybe what I understand what he was getting at was, if it is smaller, though, if it begins that it's smaller than the horizon, then it will never block that object. Is that right?
Smaller, that you mean at a lower elevation as the observer.
Right, yeah, and as his as far as his eye line goes towards the horizon or the eye line, because if it's smaller than that, then it shouldn't ever block that object as it goes further and further away.
Yeah, and it doesn't. Nothing ever does. If the observer is higher at a higher elevation than an object in front of them, then that object will never block out the horizon. It will never cross the actual horizon line for that observer.
But that's not the case in globed observations, Jay, ever. You always have something higher, don't you?
Well, yeah, mountains and such.
No, the bulge.
Hills.
The bulge.
Oh, yeah, you got me there.
So this argument about things not being higher is totally
what
erroneous
you are calling the bulge
and meaningless.
is actually just the horizon, which is actually lower than you, than the observer.
Sorry, the horizon is not lower than you. You have a bulge between you and the target. Otherwise, what's obscuring things?
It's still lower than you.
Sorry,
No,
what's
it's
obscuring
not.
things
That
then? If it's lower than me,
yes,
it's not
it is.
obscuring anything. Believe me, as you tilt back on the ball and angle your camera down between you and target, there is a wall of water between you and the target, causing an, quote, obstruction. That's what you have obstructing it. If there was no obstruction, nothing would be obscured, would it?
That's what is causing objects to appear to disappear from the bottom up, yes.
The obstruction?
Yes, because
right, so the wall of water between you and the target, the thing I am saying absolutely rises up above you.
It does not, because you are looking
Sorry,
down.
how the hell does it obscure anything then?
Because it's a sphere.
Oh, because it's a ball. Is that really the best answer you've got?
It's not above you.
It is. It is a bulge.
Okay,
Learn your
why don't you go
model.
back
We
to
had this
Sly's
problem in the
video and
comments.
look at his
The boss.
demonstration
You
to
had this problem
understand
in
it
the
more.
comments. You didn't seem to understand how your model worked.
I don't think you understand.
I understand very clearly. There is a wall of water between you and the target called a bulge. It is an obstruction and it is higher than you.
It is not.
Then you are a retard who doesn't understand his own model. It is a bulge causing an obstruction and it is higher than you. When we look at these observations from the beach, the bulge is hundreds of feet above you, blocking your view. That's your model.
That's not
It
true.
depends on how far.
It doesn't depend on anything. That's your bullshit globe model. Learn it.
I already know it.
When
You don't know it, otherwise you would understand that there is a wall of water between you and the target blocking your view. That is what causes the obstruction.
Yes, if you drew a.
Yes, right, so concede. There is a wall between you and the target. Just concede.
Okay,
Yes,
if you were
there is
talking
a
about the sea
bulge,
level,
but
it would
it
be
will-
Excellent, so we have a concession. Yes, there is a bulge, so there is something higher than you.
there's
Which
a
is
bulge,
why
but
the
it's
Shut
not
up,
objects
Jay.
are
higher than you.
obstructed.
Shut up, Jay.
Partially.
So is it higher than you or not? Are you going to concede this or carry on being a retard who doesn't understand his own model?
Well, if you understand sea
Shut
level,
up,
you
Jay.
understand that you are actually
One more
higher
time
than
and you will be
if you're
kicked
standing at
out.
sea level.
I want this idiot to concede. If you don't shut your mouth, you will be booted. So, do you concede there is a wall of water between you and target called the bulge that is higher than you?
If you drew a straight line between you and the object, yes, there would be.
Right. So there is a wall between us and target obscuring the view.
Correct.
Excellent. Precisely what I said in the first place, which you denied, claiming that you were looking down.
Because you do look slightly down.
So what? It doesn't
But
change the fact
yes.
that there is a wall of water between you and target called the bulge that obscures your view.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my point. So when you tell us about things not meeting the midpoint, you've got a bloody wall between you and the target. Hello?
Yeah, that's why the objects get obstructed.
Yeah, that's my point, you absolute retard. They get obstructed because there's a wall in the way. Yeah, a wall of earth curve that we don't see. Yeah, the thing that makes my car example absolutely valid.
The thing that makes your car example not valid, because I demonstrated this with real life objects that you saw the video that I made.
Yeah, you made the same example as me. Your Coke bottle obscured the bin. It did exactly the same. You're never going to change the rules of perspective. You're never going to see the same amount of bin as you move it further away. That is retarded. It defies the law of perspective. You showed the same as me in your video, you total idiot.
No, I did not.
You can deny it all you like. I highlighted it and time-stamped it at 22 seconds. You move the bin and suddenly the bottle is almost the same height as the bin.
Because it actually is.
Because it reduced in angular size. Yeah? You showed the effects of perspective, you idiot.
Yes.
Yes. So you made the same point as us. That objects that are small and in the foreground can obscure things that are bigger and in the background. You demonstrated that admirably. Kudos for making our point so well.
Nobody denies that a smaller object can obstruct a larger object. No one denies that.
Really? Well, you've got a bloody great 170-foot bulge to worry about now, haven't you?
Well, we observe that in reality, which has been observed.
Really?
and yes,
I've never
it
seen
is
a
there.
bulge.
Well, have you seen an object disappear from the bottom up?
Yeah, because of perspective. Something you omit
No,
from your
not be-
calculations. It happens all the time. Things reduce in angular size and get closer to the horizon till they potentially are obscured either by something that dices the midpoint, that intersects the midpoint of a convergence. Nothing to do with curvature.
Sly's video is correct.
Yeah,
You
your
just did
video
not
is
have-
correct. We see the effects of perspective and you demonstrate them admirably. You show that a Coke bottle that is shorter than a bin can obscure the bin when it's moved further away from it, just like your bulge should be doing.
Why don't you put the video on screen? Because you're obviously not understanding, and
You
people
put it
are
up.
probably
Feel free to
confused in
present
the
it.
chat.
We'll round the show out with your excellent presentation. Makes
Well,
our
I'm
point.
on mobile. I cannot screen share.
All right.
So.
Anthony, have you got the? Can you go to the timestamp? I think it's 22 seconds on the video I sent you yesterday. The boss. You there, Anthony?
Yeah, I am. Can I go to the video that you sent me yesterday on Skype?
Yeah, that's the one. It's the boss.
Okay, hang on.
The bin and the bottle, but just go to 22 seconds. When you've got it queued, I'll play that 2 seconds.
Proving Sly's video with real life objects. Nathan is wrong again. Is that the one you mean?
Yep.
Yes.
22 seconds.
Yep.
Okay, I have it.
Or just click the timestamp on my comment. It'll take you straight there.
So screen share. Minimize that. Oh shit, where's it gone? Fuck. Where's it gone? Is it must be on that one. Here we go.
Okay.
Do you want me to slow it down?
So what you need to note is that
We don't need to know anything. We're going to watch the demonstration. So if you can just click play, go back about half a second. There we go. So we've got the bin, and you can see that the bottle is nowhere near the white band of the bin. And then when he moves it back, oh, what do you know? It's being obscured by the bin. Precisely our point. Excellent. Can you go back and show it one more time, Anthony? Marvellous. Just click back to 22 or 21 seconds. 22, you're on 15. Here we go. So bin and bottle. Clearly the bin is bigger. Not anywhere near the rim of the white on the bin. The bottle's nowhere near it. But then when the bin moves... Let's play, please, Anthony, if you would. Ah, voila! We have an angular size reduction at distance causing an obstruction. Absolutely beautifully demonstrated. I really, really like it when people make our point for us from the globe side. It pleases me immensely. So yes, thank you very much. I really do appreciate that, the rig. It is a beautiful thing to see. So with that, I'm probably going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. But if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you have not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!